Welcome to another edition of Legal Matters. And Legal Matters is a program just mainly for sensitization of the populace of the Nigerian people, because we observe that most Nigerians don't seek information and knowledge. So it's just a way of communicating to our people, telling them what to do and what not to do. The basic things that we need to know as as persons in the society, the things that we need to know to avail us some wrongs, or probably to stand as shield to us. So, last week we talked about the checklist of things that we need to know before we buy our land in Nigeria. And we discussed about 20 steps that we ought to take even before, engaging or buying land in Nigeria. And today we are going to be talking about the caveat emptor rule. The caveat emptor rule. And the caveat emptor rule, the caveat emptor actually is a Latin maxim, and it means buyers beware. That's what it means. It means buyers beware. And so, meaning of caveat emptor, what does it mean actually? So caveat emptor is the Latin maxim that means let the buyer beware. Sometimes when we go around in the streets, we tend to see this on houses. People just write it, caveat emptor. So it means buyer beware. This principle places the responsibility on the buyer to carefully examine and assess the quality and condition of product or service before making the purchase. When you want to buy an object or an item or commodity, the duty or the onus is on the buyer, whoever that wants to buy, to make sure that what he's buying has maybe the right title, not just about title, not talking about property alone, that the commodity or the good would fit the purpose for which it is being bought. You have to check and be certain that this is what you want. Nobody's pushing you to buy it, because afterwards, such buyer cannot come to say, oh, I've been cheated, I didn't check. Because, we have so many cases like that. Like, I'm dealing with a case of some persons taking a house and coming around to say, this is not what we took. I'm surprised because, that's way out of it. On getting to the house, you check everything. You check, oh, this is the door, it's a wooden door, this is the roof, this is the type of roof we want, it's a ceiling or it's a POP ceiling. You have to check all those things and, be sure and certain that it meets your standard before paying. Because buyers, according to this, buyers cannot turn around to say, oh, it did not meet my standard even after paying, because nobody will refund. However, there are exceptions to these rules. There are qualified exceptions to these rules when, when things like this happen. And, there are certain situations that the law will say that, oh, there's a need for this person to be maybe pay damages or get a refund. Okay, so let's check them out. So we have statutory consumer protection laws. In Nigeria, we have several consumer protection laws that protect the consumers. And so when the category falls between under these protection laws, the law will be in support of the buyer to say, oh, you have actually done something that is wrong, and this person wants a refund. So many things like that. For example, I think recently a colleague, also she ordered something online, and she wanted the refund. Within how many minutes? I think she said about 15 minutes, she wanted the refund, and she requested the refund from the seller. And the seller said, according to the terms, that she's not supposed to do a refund. That even if she's going to do a refund, she was going to do a refund after 3 days. Now, those laws, how can you say that somebody that has not got value for a good will not be entitled to a refund? Those T&C, ordinarily when you go to court, the court will knock them out. These are the type of laws that we're talking about here, because it is in contradiction, it is in contrary with the provision of the law. You cannot say that even after the person has ordered the goods. So far, it's just about how many minutes that checks in places. Even flight tickets, sometimes people say, I'm no longer traveling, can I have a refund, And the worst you can say is, okay, we are going to take a percentage of this because we are set in motion maybe our services in motion, or probably we have put 1 or 2 efforts in motion. But this one is just the case of 15 minutes. This laws are something that we all should know, so that we can know when we should fight for our rights and when we should sit back. So number 2 says express warranties. When the good has express warranties, it will avail the buyer the right to always go back and say, oh, I'm sorry, this particular good, even with this warranty, does not meet up with what I have in mind, does not fit purpose, And of course, the Sale of Goods Act. The Sale of Goods Act is also another enactment in Nigeria that also availed the consumer or the buyer such rights of refund or probably getting their money back in cases like in circumstances under the sale of goods as like we have fit for purpose when the commodity or the item is not fitting for purpose for any reason, or when the buyer has been coerced into buying, for example, by fraudulent misrepresentation, they can go back to say, oh, I'm sorry, this good, I don't want it again, I want a refund, or probably does not meet my standard, I want a refund, and also contractual agreements. So many times people enter into agreement. When you enter into agreement and, the agreement is expressly stating that this particular good has this defect and you're going to buy it the same way. Like, for example, some persons buy accidented vehicles. Yes, when they buy accidented vehicles, the agreement supporting this, and they can't go back and turn around and say, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was an accidented vehicle, or I didn't know that it was this bad, and so I'm going to, I want my money back. The caveat emptor will just say, no, it's not possible, because now you had entered into agreements, and so parties are bound by it. The moment you're bound by it, parties have entered, they have signed, oh, this is what we want, this is, I've seen it, I like it, I want it like this. Parties cannot turn around to say, oh, I'm sorry, I want my money back. You understand? So contractual agreements between parties, we also debar the buyer from going back to say, oh, this is not all I want, or probably from going back to say, this is not what I want, this is not my intention, it is an ordinarily, it's not my intention, because parties have entered into agreement, regardless of the status of the commodity or the item to be bought. Parties have agreed that this will bind them and it is okay. You understand? So that's for that. And we'll go on to the next one. We have fraudulent misrepresentation. I mentioned this under the Sale of Goods Act. Also, when the seller has fraudulently misrepresented the product to be sold, he had said that, oh, this product will be fit for this, will be good for this, knowing fully well. For example, let's talk about property. Someone that does not have a title and is trying to sell, and is posing as the real owner or as the owner of the property and is selling, that's fraudulent. So the person can go back and say, oh, you didn't actually pass a good title, and you misrepresented it. I did my due diligence, even if after doing due diligence, there are cases like that. After you have done your own bit of the investigation, you still realize that you are buying from fraudsters. Another one is the implied warranty of merchantability. When goods are going to be resold, when they are going to be resold, it is expected that they meet a particular level of merchantability. If they don't meet up, the buyer can go back to say, I'm sorry, I want my fees back, I want my money back. Money paid can be returned in such circumstances. Also, fitness for a particular purpose. When a good is bought for a particular purpose, for example, a shoe. Somebody is buying a shoe and say, I want to use this shoe to be playing football. And at the end of the day, maybe the person does not have sight or something. And at the end of the day, you realize that this shoe is not fit for the particular purpose for which it is bought. And the seller had, made mouth and told him that, oh, this shoe can actually do this, it can do this. Is this what you want? Is because most times in cases like this, the buyer is actually depending on the expertise of the seller. The buyer is actually depending on the expertise of the seller to make available. So to make available this commodity to the buyer. So when cases like this occur, and the particular commodity or item is not fit for the particular purpose, then the buyer can come around to say, oh, I'm sorry, I asked you even before I bought, and I depended solely on your expertise, and you were the one that compelled me or assured me that it was going to be fit for the purpose. The person can then, go around and get a refund. With all this, I think that's all we have for today. I'm sorry, some of us are just training, and it's just a small topic. And so these are the few exceptions to the caveat emptor rule. And basically, the caveat emptor is talking about buyers beware, that buyers should do a lot of diligence before buying any commodity or item. Most times it's always used for property matters, but beyond property, sometimes electronical gadgets, some of us will just buy it indiscriminately without checking the merchantability or without checking to whether it's going to be fit for purpose. Now, I just realized there is a particular example now. So many times when we were going around Lagos, sometimes you see this electrical gadgets that are being put on a display. Now, they say it's no testing. That's an example of contractual agreement, even though it is not written down. Agreement can either be written or oral. Now, the moment you get there, you have submit that, oh, anything, any error or defects in the structure or probably in the operation of this gadget will be borne by you. That's the buyer. So you can't, such person cannot come around and turn and say, oh, I'm sorry, when I got home and tested this, I realized that the speaker is not working. Nothing like that, because of course it has been displayed and you can see no testing, no testing, and you still make up your mind to buy. Nobody is luring you or nobody is forcing you to buy such thing. So basically, that's what we're talking about today. Caveat emptor rule. We need to be aware of it and take due diligence before we buy any commodity. It could be property, it could be just ordinary commodity. So because we are supposed, the duty is on the buyers to be sure and certain that this is what I want to buy and this is what I'm getting. Okay. So I think that's the end of today's okay, so we have questions. I don't know if you have questions. If you have questions, you can drop it in the chat box. I really don't want, because some of us are at work, I really don't want us to, sometimes there can be noise at our different wherever we have. So I really don't want it to interfere with this section. So I don't know if you have questions. Barrister Kenny, you're welcome. So we talked about caveat emptor rule, and I don't know if you have questions. Am I seeing questions here? So I think we are done. Do you have questions? Roger, thank you for joining. I appreciate that. And then Mr. Tosin also. So do you have questions before I end this call? Mr. Tosin, I'm sure you listened to everything today. And okay, thank you. Yes, I'm seeing somebody. So I really want to know if you have questions, because the whole sole aim of this is for it to be interactive. Sometimes it can be clouded with questions in our mind. Or what if it's like this? What if it's like this? What if it's like this? What can I do? So we are free to ask questions so that we can also learn. And of course, it's recorded. When we have questions, we are also.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Wow. I thought I would tell everybody. I just heard your voice straight away. Okay. So thank you for joining. I'm really grateful. Let's have another time next week. Next week, I'm just going to be taking like 15 to 20 minutes of our time, because we understand that so many persons have to work, and so we don't want to take too much of your time. So thank you for joining.